Now we are going to cover finding the location of an object, and we'll do that using index of object. Now, index of object uses the is-equal method. It will return the first item in the array that matches the value that you've put in index of object. So what does this mean? It means that if the strings are equal, if we're comparing two strings, if their value is equal, it will return the first one that it finds. But it doesn't mean that they're the same object, meaning that they could reside in two different places of memory. Determining if the objects are the same, meaning that they are the same object in memory, we'll use a different method. Let's go ahead and run this using Command R, and our answer should be 2. And there we go. Location of Joe is 2. If we look at our next method, we're going to be using index of object identical to. Now this method returns only if it finds one that is the exact same object, meaning they have to reside in the exact same place in memory on your computer. So here we're creating 3 variables, Joe1, Joe2, and Joe3. The first one is a constant string, and the next 2 are string with formats. If we created 2 variables, Joe1 and Joe2, and we both used a constant string, Joe, they would actually be the same object. Objective-C would not create a new object for the second Joe. It would be the exact same place in memory. So the way we get around that is using string with format, which will actually create a new object in a different place in memory, so that then we can locate it using index of object identical to. So after we've created our objects, we create an array using array with objects. We fill it with our 3 objects, terminate it with nil, search for it using index of object identical to, and then we put in Joe2. That's the object that we want to find. Then we print it out to the console using the log method by using Command R. And now we get the location of Joe2 is 1. If we go back over, let's just double check and make sure that's true. So we have Joe2. We put it into the array. Here's the 0 position, the 1 position, and the 2 position. And what we were returned is 1, so it did it correctly. Now you know the difference between finding objects that have the same value and objects that are identical in memory location on the computer. Our next method is to compare 2 arrays to see if they're equal. So we're going to use the is_equal_to_array method. We've got our first array up here that we've been using, students, and it's set to Tom, Bill, and Joe. Our second array is going to be students 2, and we're going to make it exactly the same. We're going to create a new array, Tom, Bill, and Joe. These should be equal. We're going to do a Boolean value is equal, and we're going to send the message to that array and say is_equal_to_array students. So just asking the students array to check, are you equal with this other array? And now we're going to print that out to the console. Command R, and the answer is 1, and we know that is yes. So the Boolean value is yes, these are the same. The last method we're going to cover on NSArray is components joined by string. There are many times you'll have an NSArray filled with strings, and you want to join them using a separator. In our example, we're going to use a comma and a space. So we're going to take our students array, and we're going to create a new string called join students. We're going to send the students array components joined by string message. We're going to give that the separator, the comma with a space, and then we're going to print it out. Let's use Command R. And we can see here in the console we have Tom, comma space, Bill, comma space, Joe. Now you know how to take an array of strings and join them all together with a separator. In our next video, we'll be covering NSMutable array, which is the mutable subclass of NSArray.